Hey everyone! Today we're going to discuss reducing adverb clauses. So let's review really quickly what an adverb clause is and how it is formed. So what is an adverb clause? Well, we have two things that are very necessary in order to create a complex sentence. The first thing I need is that independent clause, or in other words, a subject, a verb, and sometimes an object. In my dependent clause, the adverb clause falls under this category because what an adverb clause does is it has what we call a subordinating conjunction that connects the two clauses together and gives meaning to the two verbs and their relationship between each other. So an adverb clause again falls under this dependent clause category, connecting the two with a subordinating conjunction. And the purpose of that subordinating conjunction is really to illustrate this relationship between the action in both of the clauses. So in other words, those two verbs. Taking a look at our example here, we have I like to listen to music, which is our independent clause. I have a subject and I have a verb and object. In our dependent clause, here is our subordinating conjunction while, our subject, and our verb. So the relationship between our verbs drive and like is time. So let's take a little review of our different types of adverb clauses here. We have learned about time, which is in our previous example, cause effect, condition, and contrast. So these are the four types of dependent clauses that we can connect to an independent clause. And the key here is that without our independent clause, an adverb clause really doesn't have any meaning on its own. Think about it. Although I'm studying English now, if I leave that on its own without the independent clause, that has no meaning. So they rely on each other to create that relationship of one of these four types to the other verb. So now let's take a look at our first step in reducing an adverb clause. The first thing we need to do is look at both of our clauses' subjects. So in the first, we have I. In the second, I too. That's great. If we both have the same subject, we can keep moving ahead. But we want to delete our first subject. In other words, that subject in our adverb clause only. So it's important to remember that when we're looking at reducing adverb clauses, we only want to pay attention to the actual adverb clause. Other than this part where we compare the two different subjects, we're really going to leave this independent clause alone. So we noticed, okay, we have the same subject, delete it. Next thing we need to look at is, do I have a be verb? What I mean by that is any verb formation that has the verb to be as a helping verb. Looking at our verb in the adverb clause, I have the present progressive. And that means I do have be plus verb ing. So yes, I do have a be verb. Therefore, I need to omit it, get rid of it. That leaves me with, while cooking, I listen to music. And now this, while cooking, becomes what we call an adverb phrase. Think about a prepositional phrase where you have a preposition, like for example, before eating. Before is my preposition, eating is my noun, a gerund, and then I would have a subject, a verb, and possibly an object. So what we're doing is we're creating an adverb phrase which is similar to a prepositional phrase. But what happens if I don't have a be verb? What do I do? Well, let's take a look. Without a be verb, I have to, as before, omit the subject. So here's my dependent clause, get rid of my subject. making sure, of course, that I do look and make sure that they are the same. If they're not the same, I can't just go ahead and omit the subject. They really do need to be the same in order for me to get rid of that subject in the adverb clause. Once that subject is, confirmed that they're the same, I want to now shift my attention to my verb. Again, remembering that we're only focusing on an adverb clause here. I'm leaving that independent sentence alone. So here, my verb is came, and this is the the past simple. So I want to take that verb and I want to change it into what we call the present participle. I know we've learned about past participles before with present perfect, past perfect, and passive voice. But the present participle is really just the base form of the verb plus ing. So the base form of came is come, and I want to add ing. So our clause becomes, before coming to the United States, I had taken English classes. And I mentioned passive voice. Well, what happens if I have an adverb clause that has passive voice? Well, it follows another rule. The first step is still the same. I need to check my subjects in both clauses. Here my subject is students. Here is they. They is referring to students. So they are the same. Get rid of it. My next step is, do I have a be verb? Well, let's take a look. We have the passive voice, are given. Here's my adverb clause. I do have that be verb, so I need to get rid of it as well. But instead of changing the past participle given into the present participle like before, it's actually okay to leave it the way it is. So our sentence becomes, when given homework, they can't have fun. Interestingly enough, though, this one is a little tricky, and I picked it out on purpose because do we know who they is? No, we don't. So in a case like this where we have a pronoun that is referring to another noun in a previous clause, to help the reader really understand who my subject is, it's very helpful if I get rid of they and I write students here when I decide to reduce my adverb clause. Because now I know who is they? Oh, okay, they is students. So when given homework, students can't have fun. Now it makes a lot more sense. Alrighty. We've talked a lot about time. Let's take a look at because. This is very special. It requires very special attention. But the first step is still the same. I have to check, make sure I have the same subjects. She, Kathy, good. Still got to get rid of it. Then I need to omit my subordinate conjunction. Right? Get rid of it. It's gone. Now that it's gone, I have my verb left. And just like an active voice sentence, I want to take that verb and I want to make it into the present participle, hoping. Now my sentence becomes, hoping to get a degree in accounting, Kathy went back to school. So this is very interesting because not only am I omitting my subject, my verb to be, but now I need to really pay attention to, is my subordinate conjunction because, and if it is, then I need to get rid of that also. Alright, quick review. Remember, the first thing you have to look at is if your subjects are the same in both of your clauses. If they're not, you really, honestly, you cannot reduce the adverb clause. Because it just sounds silly if you try. Like, let's take a look. While lecturing about adverb clauses, a mild earthquake shook the room. In this case, it sounds like the earthquake is the one that did the lecturing. Can earthquakes lecture? I don't think so. So, honestly, if your subjects are not the same, you can't reduce it, you stop right there. But if they are the same, as in this example, I have students and they, where I can omit it Remembering again that when I do that, I have to change my pronoun here to students because otherwise I have no idea what we're talking about. I do need to change my verb to the present participle, which is the base form of the verb plus ing, and now it becomes studying. And my sentence is, when studying together, students do better in class. And the other thing to remember is, if in my adverb clause I have the passive voice, like in this example is given, then after I delete my subject and my verb to be, I keep my past participle. So my sentence would become, my dog will run to the street when given the chance. And the last thing we talked about was the subordinate conjunction because, which is special because, once I delete my subject, I also have to delete my subordinate conjunction. Then I need to change my verb into the present participle. So my sentence becomes, wanting a good job, she is studying English. Alrighty, that is it for today. Next class we're going to practice this. So I look forward to reducing adverb clauses with you the next time I see you in class. Alright, thank you guys. Have a great day.